everyone, and welcome to Hawk Talk here on 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater, as well as streamed live on UWW-TV's YouTube. Happy Eclipse Day, everyone. Joined by Nick Demos, Brendan Donlevy, Nazir Spencer, and Jalen Nicholson-Bourne. This is a very equipped crew and a lot of people with a lot of different personalities from what I've seen throughout the semester. Did you guys get to see the eclipse today?
Yeah.
No?
Look through the gym window.
I heard about that story. Yeah, I got lucky. I got home right at the right time. My buddy was standing outside with the proper glasses. I wasn't going to buy the glasses. And he's like, hey, you want to check it out? It's the perfect time. It's like the prime moment. I'm like, sure. And then it was actually pretty cool. So I wasn't thinking that it was going to look like it did in that, but I had some buddies who went and actually like saw it where it like blocked out everything. Sam Strash is supposed to normally host a Monday show. That's what he was doing. He was burning his eyes out in the sky.
Yeah.
But yeah, good for him. We don't miss you. I'm just kidding. We miss you, Sam Strash. But it's a fun day, and obviously not something that you're going to see very often, so it's a good experience. But we got a lot of sports to get into today, a lot of fun topics. We're not going to waste any more time. We got to start with our Warhawk Thought, as always. And with the national championship being tonight, I think it was important to have at least some sort of highlight regarding that. So today's Warhawk Thought is, what is your favorite March Madness memory? I feel like there's a lot of times, especially in these last 15 to 20 years that some of us have been watching March Madness, that there have been some electric moments, some moments that you'll never forget, some moments you watch live, some moments that you saw replays of. And I'm sure if you're a fan of certain teams like the Badgers, there's plenty of bad memories from those things. So we're going to get into all of that in this segment of Warhawk Thought. We're going to start with Nick. Nick, what do you have for one of your favorite March Madness memories?
I would say my favorite one would be Cardiac Kemba, Step Back, 2010, NCAA. I forget the round that was in, though.
I think it was the conference.
That was conference?
Oh, was it conference?
Mm-hmm. I think it was the Big East tournament.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah,
no,
right.
Nothing will ever compare, especially the call, too. Cardiac Kemba. There's nothing better than that.
Mm-hmm. And, as all of us getting into announcing of some sort, to be able to call that on the spot and how to handle that situation is different between every person. Some people just let the moment breathe. Some people know exactly what to say. Some people fumble it. And we've seen all of those all in between. So that's a great memory right there.
Personally, I got to go with UMBC beating Virginia. 16 seed versus 1 seed. It was the first 16 seed to win. I had Virginia winning it all that year, and to this day I have beef with Virginia and just despised picking them in brackets. So that led to me picking Furman last year, which is another great March Madness memory. But UMBC just dominated that whole game. And usually 1 seeds, they go down early, and coach is like, all right, time to kick it up a notch. And just UMBC just through a whole game, just dominated. And I just finally seeing a 16 seed win, it was a really cool memory to see.
Yeah, I never had seen that before, and I didn't even really consider watching that game because I just figured it was going to be a blowout. I was getting Taco Bell, and my buddy showed me a notification on his phone, and I'm like, well, that's kind of nuts.
There goes my bracket.
Yeah, and I believe that I picked Virginia to win it that year, too. I think 3 years in a row I picked Virginia, and they fumbled every year, and then the 1 year I didn't pick them, the year after, they went and won the national championship. And obviously this year, probably should not have been in the tournament. They stunk it up in the first 4 game.
Seton Hall got robbed.
Yeah, Seton Hall.
I do think Taco Bell was a prime pick for that as well, though.
Yeah, I would pick Taco Bell over watching a 16-1 seed normally, but Nazir, I know you got some prime moments in you.
Dude, I'm going to pick a recent one. I don't know why, but this one sticks with me all the time because it was a COVID game, and it was Jalen Brunson, his game winner. That was, I don't know why. That always sticks with me when I think about, March Madness memories. I know it's not a huge one. I know it's not like a crazy one, but I don't know. Every time I think about it, I'm like, man, that was a good time to watch. I don't know. Just those games were just so good. And if you hit that shot in front of a live crowd, it would have just been amazing. So.
And another thing about COVID is we had so much more time to be able to just sit there and watch these games.
Analyze it.
Most of the time, it's you don't really have as much homework, or you got all the homework done during the day because you didn't really have any classes and stuff like that. But man, those moments are just and we're going to talk a little bit about the bubble today later on, but you think about how I watched however many games of the bubble tournament, and that was just insane. Yeah. Obviously, the Bucks did not show out in that one, but
conference finals.
Neither did the Clippers, so it's all right.
Yeah.
Luka moment.
Yeah, there was, and well, I mean, we talked about like T.J. Warren being prime in that time, but yeah, COVID was just a fun time, and we're going to talk about some of those players today. So, Jalen, what are your top memories from March Madness?
What was that Villanova game winner?
Chris Jenkins?
Chris Jenkins.
I would have said Chris Jenkins
NC.
if it wasn't for the run of Carson Edwards from Purdue.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Yeah.
legendary.
That was I still watch that highlight reel to this day. Carson Edwards was just
He
insane.
was something else, man.
Yeah, Carson Edwards was fun to watch, but I mean that Villanova North Carolina championship game, I was rooting North Carolina, and it wasn't just that shot that made it special. It was Marcus Page hitting the double pump from the corner.
Lefty.
Yeah, throwing it up off the glass, just making the game stay alive for North Carolina. That tied it back up, I'm pretty sure. And then obviously, just a game like finisher like that. 2016 was just the prime time for
everything.
sports.
Great
That's
year
when
of sports.
that's when the Cavs came back 3-1. College football playoff later that year was electric.
Even just life.
I was rooting for
2016 was
Nova.
just a good year.
Cubs won the World Series.
Was that no, that it wasn't.
Cubs won the World Series that year.
What Super Bowl was that? That wasn't.
That was.
Was that 28-3?
2016 was
that the-
definitely 28-3.
was
That was 28-3.
Yeah,
Yep.
28-3, so
Yeah,
it was two
that was just
comebacks
the prime
that
time
year. And then
for sports.
Kobe's
Just a
last
crazy
game.
year. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
great
man.
music came out of
That
that
was the
time too.
best
That's for
year
sure.
of
Oh yeah,
sports.
summer 16.
73-9 Warriors.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of us we were kind of
God.
like,
A god.
Yeah.
God formed Steph Curry.
you know, we were all coming into our own athletically, I'm sure too, at that time. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, prime.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moments that stick out for me. I mean, I guess I got to highlight the Badger ones. Florida knocking us out on the buzzer beater was
Dude, they
stinky.
suck against Florida, man. I've
Yeah,
been saying it.
we don't play good against Florida. The Duke game where you're up 10-11 and you can't close it out, especially after beating Kentucky that year when they were undefeated.
That was good.
That was a fun run. And before that, they beat Arizona when they had their prime team, T.J. McConnell, and that squad was kind of deadly at that time. But I mean, those are fun teams, but they just couldn't quite get it to the final moment. And I mean, those are ones that stick out to me. The UMBC one was definitely one I remember. I remember when Middle Tennessee State beat Michigan State.
Oh, I do remember
was
that. Was that
brutal.
15-2?
Yeah, that was a brutal year for brackets for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. I think Duke lost as well because that was Jabari Parker's Duke team.
Oh, yeah.
That was, I think, 2014 technically.
I think they lost to Lehigh.
Yeah,
CJ McCollum.
CJ McCollum's Lehigh. See, that was a fun year, but
It was.
yeah, but I also think about like the Butler teams early on. Gordon Hayward missing the half court shot, which would have been easily the biggest highlight of the time. But I mean, before we move on to our next topic, obviously we got to talk a little bit about this national championship game tonight. So just tell me what you think the end result's going to be. Anybody can start.
I'll kick it off if y'all want to. I'm thinking. I mean, I think UConn's going to handle business. I think Zach Edey's going to have his troubles for once. He had a tough. I wouldn't say a tough game against NC State, but it wasn't the 40-point outing he had. I just don't think. I don't know if he can keep it up. Do you guys really think that he can just keep this run up, Cinderella?
I think he can.
He won the Naismith the other day.
God,
so
he's such a dog. I just don't know. Like, we don't know many ball players that keep that throughout the entire tournament and then win it all.
stylistically, this matchup that we're going to have
It's
down
even.
low tonight is going to be insane.
Yeah,
It's actually evenly matched.
it is. It's very evenly matched.
Evenly matched.
I just
Crazy.
think UConn's just got
It's
way
not
more
like you got
depth.
That's what I'm
6'8"
thinking
DJ
as well.
Burns against 7'4" Zach Edey in this
Yeah.
one. You got 7'4" and 7'2". It's
It's
that's-
going to be a dogfight, and I do like the matchups. I think Nova, I just said Nova. I think to his point with UConn that they do have better depth, and we just watched yesterday from the women's national championship that depth killed Iowa. So
Yeah, but I just feel something about that revenge tour.
yeah,
yeah.
Just something about it, bro.
I
Yeah.
mean, the overall depth from UConn is the only reason I'm going with them. UConn's covered every game in the past two tournaments, and they're 6.5 tonight. I see UConn by double digits. I think this will be their toughest test of the tournament by far. But just UConn as a whole, Edey's going to have trouble with clinging tonight. I got UConn by 11.
I feel like it's almost now or never for Purdue in that same regard too. Nazir, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Edey's gonna have a great game tonight, but I think they're still gonna lose by like 15. I don't know.
wow, okay.
I really think UConn's like they're that good. I bet against them last year and they won. So this year I can't do it again. And I like Edey kinda. I don't like the way he plays really. He's kind of slow. He's a slow baller. He just kind of backs on people and then hooks it and he's
7'4".
7'4". So it's not that impressive to me. 7'4" is just like Wemby. Like he's impressive. Like he shouldn't be doing that. But I don't know. That's just my opinion on the guy. But I think he's gonna have a great game tonight. I think he's gonna have a blockbuster game tonight. But they're just gonna fall short because everyone else isn't hooping like him.
Mm-hmm. Jalen, what do you got?
I'm probably going to go with the safer pick, UConn, but deep down, I also feel like Purdue can win this game, though.
I think they can, but
I
I
do
just
think
don't
they
think they
can.
will.
I just don't see it happening.
I mean, this might be one of the best college
I don't got them
basketball teams
losing
I've
by
seen.
double digits, but they come out and play like they've been playing this entire tournament. It's going to be a close game.
Yeah,
It's going to be a single-digit game.
I think no matter what, it's going to be one of the best NCAA championships that we've seen in a long time, maybe since the 2015 season. I think that I can't remember which season it was, but there was a lot of fun ones in the early 2010s. We have not seen one that was like this marquee. Like, obviously, last year it was just a blow-up bracket. This year it's 2 1s, 2 heavy-hitting centers. This is just 2 great coaches. This is going to be prime for NCAA. And, I mean, there's 2 sides to this. I have Purdue in a bracket, and it's the only good bracket I have, so I would love for them to win for that. But I still think that I'm going to root for UConn. Dan Hurley has made a huge fan out of me. He just has the way that he handles himself as a coach, I think, is tremendous. I think he's now my new favorite head coach in college basketball. But I think that I'll take UConn. I think it's going to be close. I'll give it like a 7-point difference. I think Edey gets in foul trouble. And I think that's going to be the difference. I think that they know that they have to attack them right away. Otherwise, it's going to be wraps in the end. So I think that UConn will play smart enough and be able to get past that. It will still be a very fun game, though.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. It's about 2 hours away now from the start of, from tip-off. I will be missing it because I'll be recording my show, but I'll figure out what's happening. I'll learn as it goes. But we're going to move on to our first topic of the day, and we're going to call this one Calipari Capsized. Kind of a shocker for a lot of people that I talked to this morning. John Calipari hopping ship, leaving Kentucky after losing to Oakland and Nazir's old homeboy Jack Golke. And he's hopping over to Arkansas on a huge contract. There's a lot of money in play that you did not think that Arkansas was going to be willing to throw. And for a team that finished 12th in the SEC, you didn't really expect them to be able to make a splash like that on Calipari. And obviously, 2 SEC teams jumping from one side to the other, that's going to be a shocker. So I kind of want to just highlight everything surrounding this. Let's start talking with Arkansas, because obviously not a very impressive team top to bottom right now, but I want to know how you guys feel John Calipari will have an impact there. Anybody can hop in right away.
So Calipari was the coach at Memphis before he went to Kentucky, and I'm a big Memphis Tigers basketball fan. We all loved Calipari, but I even said it on last week's show, Calipari is one of the best recruiters ever in college basketball history, but he simply can't coach. He had a stint in the NBA for about 20 games, didn't work out. He's not a great coach. He's a fantastic recruiter, and I think he realized that he needs to jump ship from Kentucky to save what little legacy he does have left because of just how recently poor they've been in the tournaments. He lost to St. Peter's in the first round, lost to Kansas State in the second round last year, and then you lose to Oakland again this year. I mean, Kentucky is a prestigious blue blood school. You can't afford to have that. I think it was a mutual agreement between Kentucky and Calipari, and I really am excited to see what kind of talent he'll bring into Arkansas. I thought Musselman was a great head coach before he went to USC, but I'm curious to see what he does at Arkansas, but I'm sticking with the same point. He can't coach, and no matter how much talent he gets to Arkansas, I don't think it's going to improve them really anywhere in the SEC.
I agree with everything you said besides the part he can't coach, because I think he can coach. I just don't think he
strongly disagree.
I think he's a pretty good coach. This is the past 4 years. He's been out, first, second round. He's only made it to the second round once in the last 4 years, obviously, but you got to look before that too. He was making the Sweet 16s, Elite 8s. He's coached amazing players, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis, all those guys. Derrick Rose,
this one and
Julius
done
Randle, all
mentality
those
just does not work in college basketball anymore.
I completely agree that he's running away from the grind at Kentucky now because of his recent activity as a coach. But I think that his new team in Arkansas, he has a new chance to redeem himself. I don't think he's going to do it the first year, maybe 2, but I think eventually they'll get over that hump and make it to maybe not a deep run, but they'll definitely make some noise there in Arkansas with him there. I don't know if it'll be a huge impact at this point in his career, but I think it'll be something to watch out for sure.
I know somebody who's an Arkansas fan, and I'm pretty sure they're pretty happy right now. But in my opinion, I'm going to just say that I do think he's a good coach. I mean, even though it's the one and done era is over, but when you look at all the players he's out of having a league, like he took a picture with what did they take a picture of with somebody at the Final Four or something? He had like 12 or something All-Stars or 7 All-Stars in an All-Star game this year.
He's the second most winningest coach in Kentucky basketball history.
I'm not denying his ability to recruit talent. That's not.
Yeah, but you got to develop that talent.
You got to
too.
develop it too. You got to develop it. And you got to get to that level.
It's not about X's and O's either.
In this modern day of college basketball, recruiting for the one and done will not
will not
get you long term success come March.
For now, it does, but in the past, I can't say that he was a bad coach because now that the NIL is here, it should probably help him at Arkansas now.
Yeah,
the NIL is here. So.
I think it affected him a little bit at Kentucky because it came at the wrong time when they were trying to develop a team, and then everybody started getting that money, and then people started transferring out and then going to the NBA right away.
Transfer portal.
That when 2020 hit, that was just like his downfall for sure, and he couldn't get past the hump, couldn't get past second round because of all that going on. I'm not saying that's the only reason. He's made a lot of mistakes as a coach as well, for sure, but. I can't agree with the fact that he's not a good
I just
coach.
think his in-game adjustments in the past 3 years have just
I
not
agree.
been
No,
working.
I completely agree.
I can see that.
Yeah,
but
I just that's
overall,
coaching though. You know, it's about the other side too. The other side knows how to coach against him. So that's just.
And with all the transfer portal stuff, there's like 5-star players that are playing at these like smaller schools now. So it's like really when you look at upsets like what is it, Oakland or something like that. I'm not gonna say that they should have beat Kentucky. I mean, with all the 5 stars, but when you look at somebody like Duquesne, they had like a 4-star recruit on their team from a transfer portal. So it's like the transfer portal is really like making it a lot harder for him in those big programs too. Because now look at Kansas. You can say the same thing about Kansas. You can say the same thing about North Carolina.
Exactly.
You can say the same thing about Duke now that Krzyzewski's gone. So it's like the transfer portal and the NIL has really changed the entire scape of college sports.
Yeah, I would like to kind of pose the question while we're on that topic. Do you think that the game passed John Calipari by? Is that the possibility that of something that you could consider to be the problem, or do you think that it's something else? Brendan, I'll let you start because I know that you're very critical of Coach Calipari.
I would say it has advanced from past what he can do as a coach. Like I said, I'm 100% without a doubt he's the greatest recruiter of all time. But just in terms of how much the game's changed, and to their point, the transfer portal, NIL, all this other stuff, it's so much harder to develop talent, like overall. And I just, with the one and done mentality that Calipari's had and his recent struggles as a head coach, I just think with the way the game has progressed, his in-game adjustments are not nearly good enough to get a run in March. And I don't care how well you do in the regular season, I'm going to judge you based on how you perform in March. And as of late, Calipari has not been able to get over that hump.
It's right there. That's as of late though. Before that, he was recruiting. He was, like you said, he's recruiting great. He's always had NBA talent on his team, and that's because of him. The players even say he's like the best coach they've ever had because of what he was able to do for them and the level that they were able to get to because of him. So I don't. That's why I'm still hitting on the part where you say he's a bad coach.
So I got a question. Do you think Nick Saban is a bad coach?
No.
It's a different game, but
I mean, I don't think that's
I'm saying
comparable.
like NIL and transfer portal.
Yeah.
They ain't won nothing since 2020, and then coming before that, they were winning like every 2 years.
I have a buddy that thinks that Coach K is a fraud.
But Kentucky only has, I mean, it's still a national championship, don't get me wrong, and he took Memphis to a national championship. I'm not denying his past success. But in recent years, just from all this stuff that's going on, this one and done method of recruiting players to get them to the league is not long-standing and accurate or good enough to have success in March. And that's really the point I'm trying to hammer at, is if he keeps recruiting and coaching and going after players who he knows that, hey, you can come to Kentucky for a year, you can come to Arkansas for a year to play a year and then go straight to the NBA, that's not going to win you college basketball games. I think
that's going to change at Arkansas, though.
I'd agree.
I'd love to see it. Arkansas has always been a pretty underrated program, and Musselman accomplished a lot there, and I'm really excited to see what he can do at Arkansas. I think a lot of bigger names are going to go to Arkansas now, but I just, with the way, if he continues doing what he's been doing, they will make it past the Sweet 16.
Yeah, and I mean, we got to talk about Kentucky too. 28 current players in the NBA from Kentucky. How much does John Calipari leaving change the game for that program?
A lot. He was,
I mean, it
he was
just,
the
I
biggest
wouldn't
reason.
say it changes a lot, but it has, I mean, the brand isn't like it was back then, like when he was there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that.
That's what I was trying to like hammer at, like when he was talking about the one and done stuff. It was just that kind of brand of UK that you had to be there one and done, like Duke was at the time, one and done with Krzyzewski. You know, Zion was going to say that he wanted to stay in college another year, but he couldn't because, you know, the brand of Duke was so appealing to so many high school kids that they all want to go to Duke, or they all want to go to Kentucky, or they all want to go to Kansas, you know. So the one and done, he had to do like the one and done stuff because, I mean, it's not like he was at Memphis where he could actually sit back and develop people.
Okay, so then looking at this open position, who do you think that someone who should take over that position would be?
Sean Miller.
Sean Miller. All right, why?
I just think he's perfectly suited for that job. He's great at Arizona. I think he's, I don't know. I think he's. I was looking at it last night. I was reading an article. He was playing. He coached at Xavier as well, but I think he's a brilliant offensive-minded coach, and he can play. He can coach a little bit of defense as well. But I think you want a guy that can recruit and has that knowledge of where you can find these great players and how you can develop them. And he's done a decent job over the past years, but I think this is his like perfect time to go there.
I'd like to see Rick Pitino.
That was one of my
That'd
two
be a
names.
fun one.
I got two names. With all the beef that Louisville and Kentucky have, that'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
I could honestly see Dan Hurley going to Kentucky. I think Kentucky can throw him a contract so big that even if he wins back-to-back national championships, he'll have no really option to not take it.
Yeah, I mean, he was the Duke product, though, too. You got to think about that.
I'm going to go off the radar. I'm going to say, why don't we look at somebody like Mark Jackson?
I would love to see Mark Jackson get back into coaching.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean-
really happy you said that name.
I know
I love Mark
Think about
Jackson.
I feel like that's a
Mark
name that's
Jackson?
been getting thrown around for a couple of years now, and nothing has ever
see
really
that.
pulled him out of the broadcast
That's
seat.
what I'm saying. Like, this could be like a big thing because he grabbed Steph Curry and
Yeah.
turned them into what they were. But it's just that Steve Kerr obviously elevated them. But yeah, I mean, Mark Jackson he's sitting right there too. I mean, I'm pretty sure he'd get back into coaching.
I'm so happy you said. I'm a big Mark Jackson fan. I constantly called Steve Kerr. I mean, can't deny his success, but Mark Jackson built that team, and he gets no credit for it. And I just would really like to see him get back into
I don't
coaching.
think Mark Jackson's ever going to coach again, unfortunately.
Probably
as
not.
much as
Said
we
it's too
wanted.
much stress.
That would be fun.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I could see Nate Oates or Rick Pitino. Those are my
But
two.
I think it's
Nate
gonna be-
Oates,
I think it's gonna
former
be Dan
Whitewater
Hurley.
assistant coach.
I think it's going to be Dan Hurley. I think Kentucky's going to throw him too big of an offer.
Nate Oates, I think Nate Oates just built the brand at Alabama. I
Yeah.
don't think he going nowhere.
I don't know. I think Sean Miller's gonna go there because he's like really close with Calipari, and I don't know. He coached at Arizona for 12 years.
Impossible.
I think it's a possible situation for him because he probably has his foot in the door already.
Wow, I'd love Mark.
Would you
Maybe.
guys agree with me though that it was kind of like a desperation move from Calipari just to get out of Dodge?
Yeah, it was
Save face.
He
He
completely
wanted-
ran away from it.
Yeah.
He had to save face.
Yeah, he didn't want to ruin his legacy based off of the past 4 years. So he's trying to make it new.
Restart his clock before he call it quits.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Another name I heard in the market was Scott Drew, the Baylor head
Oh,
coach,
yeah,
and I
saw
mean,
Baylor.
he's a
That's
couple
a
years
good
removed from winning a national championship team, one of the best defensive coaches that we've seen in college basketball in recent time.
Get Mark Few out of Gonzaga.
Whoever
wow.
Kentucky hires, they're going to get a bag.
Yeah.
It's not going to be someone no one's ever heard of. They're going to make a big
Yeah.
splash. It's going to be a big contract.
Coach K is back.
The return.
The
Imagine.
return.
Cody arrival.
That'd be fun. But we're going to move on to our next topic now. We're crossing over to baseball, and we're going to call this one National League Central Mayhem. And we got to think about pretty much everything that is involved in the NL Central. So typically we're like just Brewers, just Cubs, that sort of stuff. But there's obviously a lot more than that. This is really possibly the most competitive division in all of baseball. And they've been doing pretty well this year. They had the best record throughout the first week and a half of the season. Obviously, I think there are more talented divisions, but I think that in terms of when you look at top to bottom, the difference could be 10 games at the end of the season. So I think it's going to be interesting how the NL Central shakes out. And I guess the first question that I want to start with is there anybody that you guys are completely ruling out of winning the division?
Probably the Cardinals.
Yeah, St. Louis for sure. That's me.
They
I don't
just-
know-
they
I
have
don't
no
think the Reds
rotation.
can win it either.
I wouldn't say they have no rotation. It's just that the star power of all the other four teams. I mean, You could even make a case
Reds.
with the Pirates because O'Neal Cruz is really elevating that team right now.
O'Neal Cruz.
The
is-
Reds.
I was going to
Focus
say
on
the Reds are my close second for the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, I see them losing it for sure. Not
No,
just-
I
They're
like
too hot with talent right now.
Yeah,
I can't say
they're so fun to watch with Ellie. But if you have to mark one team out, I think it's got to be St. Louis.
It's got to be St. Louis. They're
I-
so
I just not sold on their pitching at all. And even if Goldschmidt and Arenado have careers, I think it's just going to be another repeat of last year and just massively underperforming.
See, I think that
their
there's
offense isn't good.
their
That's what
aging
I'm
is
saying.
starting to kind of hit them a little bit with those two guys, I think. I mean, they still have the young talent coming in. You got Mason Wynn. I'm really a big fan of Victor Scott. I think he's going to be a great in the outfield. But I think there's still a lot of question marks that they didn't solve yet. And I feel like they're trying to rebuild a little too quick just because they know there's a window. And I don't think that it's going to work out for them.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about that. But, I mean, maybe that's just me hating on the Cardinals because they've got the Brewers number in certain regards. But I think the other team where I think that I can't completely rule them out, I guess, but I don't think the Pirates have a shot at the number one
I
spot.
strongly disagree.
I don't agree with that.
I don't think
I think they could be anywhere between 2 and 4.
I think the Pirates.
I think 2 is a little too high. I say they round 3 or 4.
They're 3 for sure.
I think
A lock at 3.
I think those 4 teams minus St. Louis can all make a case to win it.
Yeah, I think like
Yeah.
St. Louis as for sure my like last out, but I think that the Reds overall could find a way to perform better.
Are we really shot?
And
are
the
we
Pirates?
Like, are we like
The Pirates,
the Reds?
you saw the Pirates are doing what they did last year again, where they start out hot, and I mean, if they get banged up again, there's not a really strong argument that you can say that they're going to be able to keep up with everybody else in the stretch, because I think you look at teams like the Brewers and the Cubs who just have more depth.
I agree. I think I'd pick the Pirates over Cincinnati personally. That's just me.
You know, maybe that's just me. I've kind of
neck
been
and
sold
neck
on the
for
Reds for the last 2 years, just because I think that they got so much talent coming up. They do have Frankie Montas now, which I'm also a big fan of. It's going to be this series is going to be very telling, I think, for the beginning with the Brewers, because I mean they've been kind of tearing the cover off the ball offensively for the first time in a few years, and I'm very interested to see when they match up on Frankie Montas, Hunter Green, the bullpen. I think that's going to be Hunter Green. Obviously, has not quite been what people thought he was going to be, but he's still a very valid arm in the major leagues.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about
Pretty
it.
good, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. But so basically, the only teams that we said are all the 3 teams that we've already talked about are ones that we said are kind of not the top contenders, but they're also very close with teams like the Cubs and the Brewers. And I know that there are each side that has strong arguments. Me and Sam Strash talked about Shota Imanaga possibly being the steal of the offseason so far. And I'm willing to let Jalen highlight that a little bit from the Cubs side.
That was a steal.
Yeah, it definitely was a steal. I mean, I got him in my fantasy too, and
Cruising.
he's cruising right now. I mean, you got to make a case right now that he could win Rookie of the Year if he keeps this kind of production up.
In the National League too, that's a pretty stacked competition too.
Yeah.
But these first 2 starts have been great for him.
And I mean, Cubs also, I mean, I think that Cubs and Brewers obviously are the teams that we know best. So I think that the next question I should ask for the Brewers side, what does a division winning season look like for them? What needs to happen in order for them to kind of solidify themselves as the top dogs in the NL Central?
Consistency, for sure.
Consistency
I'm
is
not
a
a
good one.
Brewers fan, but
We struggle with consistency.
y'all, the offense.
Yeah, offensive.
You have to swing the bat because you know the pitching isn't all the way up there
For the
like
first
it is.
time
So
in
you
a
have
long
to
time.
swing the bat. They have to stay hot.
Yeah, they can't fall off from the plate. I think that's going to be a huge part of that conversation. It's going to be really interesting to see just how everything shakes out on the offensive side. If they can keep things up, if they can keep everybody healthy, if they can bring some of their injured arms and bats back into the lineup. It's a long season, and I'm really interested to see how it's going to go. But I mean, I think that now's the time to kind of pick our shot as to who we think is going to win the NL Central.
Well, right now the MLB dropped their power rankings for Week 1, and the Cubs are number 9. So
Can you tell us where the other NL Central teams lie there?
they only showed us the top 10, so it goes Dodgers, Braves, Yankees, Rangers,
Look it up.
Orioles, Phillies, Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit at 7 was so confusing. They just scored
Houston?
1 run in 18 innings against Oakland.
Houston, Cubs, and the Guardians. I would actually take the Tigers out of that and
Brewers
put
are
them
12.
11 and put the Brewers at least number
Brewers are 12.
7 or at least number 8.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be. I think either way, whoever wins the NL Central, it's going to be a tough time getting past those top dogs, the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Braves. Those teams are, I mean, Phillies and Braves, I think no matter how you shake it, that one of those teams is going to make it, both the teams are going to make it. One's going to be as the division winner, one's going to be as a wild card. So absolutely. I think that really only leaves one spot open, and it's just a matter of kind of who from the other divisions can snag that spot, possibly even someone in that east side as well.
Cubs beat
The
them.
Brewers are at 12. The Reds are at 15.
How about the Rays in like 18, 19?
Yeah.
That's wild. That's talk about a fall off.
It's been a weird start for them, and I mean they're a team that's always been facing relocation and all this stuff. It'd be really interesting to see if they can continue to hold ground in St. Petersburg. But I mean, NL Central wise, I have been very vocal in past years where I'm like the Brewers just don't have it this year, and I think in past years I was very critical of them where it's like I don't think that William Contreras. I didn't think William Contreras at the time was going to be a World Series game-changing pickup. I thought he was a valid option, but I did not think that he was going to be a game changer. But I think that they've slowly started to really figure things out, and I think that this is just the beginning of what should be like a 5-year stretch of we're going to learn a whole lot about the Brewers here, because I think even when you think about how young the team is, we still have a lot of pieces coming up and a lot of pieces that we picked up in trades for like the Corbin Burns trade. Dale Hall has not been doing that great in the majors, but it's also kind of his first go around. I didn't really expect
Still
that.
26.
Yeah. We're probably not going to get Woodruff anytime soon. I mean, Devin Williams won't be back until probably July. So I think that pitching-wise, we're really going to have to hold ground and make sure we stay healthy there. But we look at the way that the game's going right now. We've seen some of the top arms go down already. Shane Bieber, I know that you were not happy about that one as a Guardians fan. And then Spencer Strider's looking like he's going to miss some time, too, one of the aces of the MLB.
So many Tommy John injuries this year. It's ridiculous.
Obviously, Shohei Ohtani not even pitching this year. So it's going to be the way that the league has improved the game speed has been fun, but it's also led to a lot of injuries. And I think that could lead to some trouble down the road. I think that efficiency, I think that pitchers might start being 2 contracts and you're out of the league.
Yep.
That might be, like, you might be done by 30 to 33.
With as much as they're doing to their arms, I mean, I follow basketball a lot too, and AAU, just the overall wear on people's bodies now compared to previous years. They're playing so much. I mean, baseball's playing 300 days a year, these youth kids, just to try and make it to the big leagues. And as a pitcher especially, your arm just goes through so much, throwing the ball 95 plus. And with the spin rates and everything being as prioritized as it is now, it's killing these pitchers' arms. And my buddies and I were having a discussion about the other day. I think it's a little bit combination of both of just how hard these guys are throwing now and the pitch clock. But it's brutal to see. Like I said, the Bieber injury is just brutal. We had such a great start to the season, and unfortunately he's out for the year. It's a bummer.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of already highlighted, going back to the NL Central topic, I already kind of highlighted the what winning season looks like for the Brewers. What does a division winning season look like for the Cubs?
Over 90 wins.
Over 90 wins. And how do you think they get there? How do you think they get to 90?
Do what they did against the Dodgers.
Exactly.
That was a smooth game.
Well, I know the lineup is going to hit. I know they're going to hit. It's about pitching and defense
And
for us.
I feel like defense has always kind of been an issue for Wrigley.
Gotta stay on defense for sure, because they played some electrifying Gold Glove defense this past weekend, and that's how they beat the Dodgers. So it's going to be pitching and defense. I mean, we all know that lineup can swing the bat. They're just going to have to prove it on the field instead of in the batter's box.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that goes into that. Do you guys want to add anything to that?
I loved what I saw from the Cubs this series, and I think it's honestly a coin flip whoever wins the division between Milwaukee and Chicago. And my bias for Chicago, I still can't get over 2016. But even with my bias for Chicago, I think I got to go 60-40 Cubs Brewers right now in favor of the Cubs, just solely because of just how they just played the Dodgers this weekend. I know it's a small sample size still, but I think overall just the way they can swing the bat is much better than Milwaukee. And long-term throughout the 162-game season, I think the Cubs will have the slight edge.
I think that they have more proven talent on that team. I think that a lot of people will put the potential of the Brewers up at a higher level to try and kind of make a justification for them. I think it could work out. I think that the range for the Brewers is between 1 and 3 in the division, but I think it's going to be tough to see who kind of makes the right run at the right time, I think that September is going to be huge, no matter how you shake it. I mean,
Whoever
And I looked
wins
at
that
the-
series.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say whoever wins the most games between the Cubs and the Brewers this year, I think is whoever's gonna win the division.
I looked at the schedule. The Cubs play an extremely hard April. And
But a tough May too.
yeah, tough. So their first half of the schedule is brutal, and they've already is showing that they're able to beat those best teams. So when it comes down to after the All-Star break, when they're playing those lower opponents with an easier schedule, that's really gonna set the tone for sure.
and I think that the lack of depth at the pitching position for both the Cubs and the Brewers is going to make for really fun series this season.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of high-scoring matchups, and I really think the way that the Brewers are swinging the bat now is going to be more fun. I might be a little bit less of. I think that we have a little bit less protection though from the defensive side of the ball, going from having arms like Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff and all those options, and having gloves like Colton Wong. It's going to be a lot of shakiness, I think, from the younger guys. I think that they still have a good chance if they can adjust pretty well. Pat Murphy, also a rookie head coach. I don't know if that's going to, or rookie manager, I should say. I wonder how that's going to shake out as well. It's only 8 games so far, 154 to go. We'll have to see how things shake out.
Well, for Milwaukee, what do you guys think? Over under 85? That's where I'm
They're
at.
probably gonna be right at
I think
85.
either 86 or
80, 85.
85.
I think preseason it was 78.5, and I think right now it's 80.5. But I think they can hit 85.
I'm a Brewers optimist, and I think I had them at 87 and 75.
So
I can see
the
that.
best part about it is I don't watch baseball like that, so I'm not biased whatsoever. And from what I've seen, because I've been tuning in now that we talk about these things, and I have to, I could see, like you said, about 86. I think 86 is a good number for them.
Yeah, and I don't think that any team in the NL Central will even have the bottom side of 95. I think that 92 is maybe like the strongest position that we could see one of these NL Central teams in, unless somebody or a group of guys make a jump for either of those teams. But it seems like we're pretty sold on the Brewers and Cubs. Maybe that's the bias in us, but I think that Reds, Pirates, and Cardinals really are, even though they can make a run, I think that they're not as set up.
They're like the dark horses in the NL.
I love what I've seen from Pittsburgh this
Reds,
far.
Pittsburgh.
Love
If they
what I've
keep
seen from
like
Pittsburgh.
they had a hot start last year, but if they're able to keep this, if they are playing like this when it comes to down to June, it's going to be a problem for both the Brewers and the Cubs.
Last year, at the beginning, but even before the season, I was like, man, Pittsburgh's looking really good.
And they didn't have O'Neill Cruz last year.
I thought that they were going to win the Central, and I was feeling right for a little bit, and then I obviously watched them skid. O'Neill Cruz gets hurt, and that kind of takes the energy out of the ball a little bit for the Pirates. They go on their multiple losing streaks. I think that it all depends on just little things like that can change the game. So I think that's why I said any of the 5 teams can make a run here. I think that Cubs and Brewers are more set up than everybody else to do it, though.
Watch out for the Pirates, man.
And
They're
if you would
some
look at it
sleepers,
like
bro.
that's like
Pirates are a dark horse.
6 to 9 games right there that you can have from those. And you ain't gonna have that like that if they playing like this.
Yeah, I'm just going to call it now. I'm going to put the Pirates at 3 for a second.
Pirates at 3.
They're a lock
100%.
at 3, man. They're
100%.
a lock at 3.
They play like this, they're a lock at 3. If they have any kind of cold spell or cold streak, it's gonna probably be the Reds.
The Reds are fun. They're not there yet.
No,
They're not there.
their pitching isn't. Their pitching isn't longevity enough. They get hurt too much.
All right, we are going to hop on to our final topic of the day. This is going to be a fun one. I haven't been able to do one of these at all since last year, mostly because I get some slack from Joe Maybe about it because it happened a lot last year. But we are going to do an NBA redraft. We're going to redo the 2020 season. Everybody in this draft has at least 4 seasons under their belt. And I think that's just enough time to be able to start realizing who's at the top of their game and who is not. And I mean, this draft class kind of stinks, guys. So I think that once we get down to the 8 to 12 picks, it's going to be, I think that's what's going to make it tougher to pick those picks. So
Yeah.
we'll have to see how it shakes out. We are going to make these picks like we are the teams that are coming into this draft. These are obviously the bubble teams. So, I mean, this is the year that got cut short, and then they picked it up. Obviously, the Lakers won the championship, hoopla, all that. But I'm starting out with the number 1 pick. The number 2 pick is going to go to Nick. 3rd pick is Brendan. 4th pick is Nazir. 5th pick is Jalen. And then we go back in order once again. So I'm going to start off, and I think that when you look at this team, I think that they made the right pick initially, but at this time they have D'Angelo Russell, point guard, shooting guard, combination of really Jalen Noel and Malik Beasley. Small forward, Andrew Wiggins still. Power forward, they have really nobody. And center, they got Karl Anthony Towns. So I think that you look at that team, and I think that you still have to pick the best player in the draft with that one. I know that I was getting on you guys about that, but I think that Anthony Edwards going anywhere else would be kind of criminal. So I'm going to put Anthony Edwards in out of Georgia as the number 1 pick in the redraft. He was a stud in
He's
college.
the best player in this draft.
Hands down.
So it's gonna he's already
I remember
number
people
one.
called
He
me
already-
crazy when I said Ant was going to be way better than LaMelo Ball. People call me absurd for that. But
I've always been on the Anthony Edwards hype train, and he's been really his dunk this year might be one of the best dunks I've ever seen in my
It's like we're
life.
saying that every season. I mean, he had
No,
a dunk
he's
on
not,
Utah.
dude.
Trash,
He's
though.
like I gotta, every tongue must confess, bro. I thought this dude. I didn't think a thing of him, bro, coming out of the draft.
Unbelievable.
I didn't. I genuinely didn't, and it wasn't
I knew
anything
maybe MJ,
disrespectful.
man.
I did think
I
Anthony
just-
Edwards was gonna be good.
I just
but-
didn't think, bro. Like he is
insane.
something different. Like next year is his MVP tour.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? That's how good he is right now.
He's so
agree.
good.
I did think he was gonna be good, but I didn't think he was gonna be this good this fast.
Yeah.
He was good off the blocks, man, bro. Right out of college.
The minute he
was
came out of
insane.
college, he was a problem.
Bro, when he was
So-
when he was playing those COVID games, no crowd, he was just destroying
But you can see the development. You can see how much better he's gotten.
And the
Exactly.
maturity just too. I mean, you can really even say he's the face of Minnesota. It was Cat when he first
Oh, no,
got
he is.
drafted.
He's,
Oh, it's not even-
he's
it's his
forceful.
team. It's
Oh, it's
100%
definitely
very forceful.
Yeah, and it sucks for Cat because his time's passed now.
Well, he doesn't even
I mean,
he
he
doesn't
Can't
even
believe he
realize
hasn't had a
it.
healthy season.
It's Anthony.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
Anthony Edwards'
That's
team.
my thing. I've been buying into the Timberwolves each of the last few seasons that they've made the playoffs, but the other thing about those playoff runs is that we haven't had Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns good at the same time.
Exactly.
That's the reason that they have fallen in the past, and I really is going to take both of them playing well together to do that again. I think that's going to be a lot of trouble, though, when you think about how tight the top of the Western Conference is.
They need another player too, though.
Yeah. At this time, Anthony Edwards was easily the first overall pick. I think that everything from here on out is going to be interesting, though. We're going to pass it over to Nick with the Warriors. They originally picked James Wiseman. I am assuming that will not be your pick.
So I liked the pick when it happened. I thought
it
it
was a
made
great
sense.
pick.
I was
That's
so
an amazing
convinced
pick.
Wiseman was going to be.
Yeah,
stud.
I was like, okay, this is crazy. Like these guys get the second overall
But the
pick.
thing is, he's not even like that bad on the Pistons.
No,
just,
he's not bad. I
He was
just
just
don't.
blocked.
I just
He's
don't
just
think
not what he
that
was.
really worked. I don't really know how any other way to say it, but this might surprise you guys. I think with the second pick to the Golden State Warriors, I'm actually going to take Patrick Williams
Whoa.
Whoa.
and throw him in there at the small forward to compete with what they had going at the time.
Well, yeah, you got to look at the team at this point.
No,
Because
Yeah.
at the time they had Marquise Chris, Willie Cauley-Stein. They had a lot of weird, odd
Remember, they didn't have Wiggins then.
guys.
either.
No, they didn't have
They
Wiggins
didn't have
yet.
Wiggins yet.
And I mean, your
I'd
guard
pick
spots.
I'd be over him, bro.
Yeah, your
Nah,
guard
yeah.
spots at the time, you had Jordan Poole, obviously Clay, Steph, and Dre. But they didn't really have that big man, quote unquote. That's why they had picked up guys like Cauley-Stein and Marquise Chris, but none of those guys ended up playing at all. And I think Patrick Williams is a good ball player, but A, he hasn't been healthy, and B, he's been in that Chicago team, that mess that's been of what they're doing right now. So, yeah, I like Patrick Williams at 2.
Over Jaden
I like it.
McDaniels for the wing position.
They didn't need a wing, though. You know what I'm saying?
I was thinking James McDaniels.
They needed a defender. to
They
go
needed
with-
somebody big that can play it down low, and Patrick Williams is the only fit I can really see because he's. Shoot, let me double check here before I miss.
I
I would
mislabel
have.
him.
I would
He's
have
a
loved
6'7".
McDaniels.
McDaniels would have been nice on that team, like really nice.
Oh, Jaden McDaniels, looking back, just what he's done.
Because
now.
Williams is
I like Patrick Williams.
I do.
I
I
do.
really
He's
like him.
long.
Nice.
He's just not. He's not nearly.
Well,
as
he
good
hasn't
as
been able to
defenders.
develop over there in Chicago. I mean, that's just been
I
the
agree.
the whole part behind it. But yeah, I like it. I'm going to
Lock
stick with that.
Nick, do you think that if
Defensively,
Patrick
that's what I'm
Williams
saying.
hops ship, joins another franchise, do you think that there will be a significant amount of growth for him?
I wouldn't say significant because I think now that he's been in 4 years, he's had the injuries he's had. I don't believe that he's going to be too much more. I think he's almost to his ceiling at this point. Respectfully, but man, if he would have got out of Dodge 2 years ago, I think he would have had a chance to be a pretty good piece for a franchise somewhere else. But unfortunately, I think that time's gone. But you never know.
The FSU product goes at 2 to the Warriors. Number 3, Brendan, you're going to have the Hornets originally picking LaMelo Ball.
I love LaMelo. I really do. Just way too injury prone, and I'm really torn between both Tyrese's right now. I really like what I've seen from Tyrese Maxey, but just overall as a better point guard, I'm just going to go with my gut. I'm going to take Halliburton.
Tyrese Halliburton.
They didn't have a point guard. I mean, they had Rozier, but they took LaMelo because at that point they took best player available. But Tyrese Halliburton, in terms of what we've seen now, the way he's able to run an offense with Charlotte, I
They
think
had a squad too.
that would have been fun. Malik Monk still was there. Still had Biombo.
One of the best announcers in the game.
Still had Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Yeah, that team was just awful. But I think Tyrese Halliburton really could have shaped that offense. And he would have been given the keys to begin with. His rookie year, he wouldn't have been stunted sitting behind De'Aaron Fox. He would have been given the keys to the offense early. So, I mean, by this point now, with Charlotte, I mean, we could say that Tyrese Halliburton could be a top 5 point guard, but as much as he's developed in Charlotte. And it's unfortunate. That would have been a good hit for Michael Jordan as an owner. But
Hey, tell me I'm wrong though. Halliburton wasn't
He wanted to go to the
very
Warriors.
good
No.
his first 2 years.
He wanted to go to the Warriors too.
Yeah,
I want to say
I would have
about
picked him because I mean, but
No,
not
there
for
was just a lot
what they had.
of hesitation to draft him so much originally, just mainly because of his jump shot. I remember watching that draft night, and there was so much like judgment regarding his jumper and how awkward it was and everything.
Understandably
But
so.
just from what we've seen now, redrafting, give this man keys to Charlotte, let him run the offense. Looking back, I think he definitely deserves to be a top 3 pick.
I mean, as someone who's seen Halliburton throughout the time, he was an Oshkosh guy, I was an Oshkosh guy. When he was getting recruited to go to Iowa State, he was listed at 6'5", 160. So
just a
just
stick.
that body type is just hard to like. You don't believe that type of thing can transition, but he's just such a cerebral player, and he just continued to get better. Even at Iowa State, it took him 2 years to make the lineup and make an impact. Then he gets drafted, bottom of the lottery, and you look at really how much he's improved since then. He's just always been just a smart player, no off the court issues. He's just been fantastic through and through. I think that is a good pick at 3. Nazir, you're up number 4 with the Bulls. Originally, as we said, Patrick Williams.
Hold on. I got one thing. I wanted to say, was it a bad thing? Is it a bad thing that Tyrese Halliburton sat behind Fox though?
I honestly,
Well, did he sit? I thought he played.
No,
I thought he
they
played
played.
with him
He-
as a
Tyrese sat
shooting guard. He
behind
was a
Fox.
2.
Yeah,
Tyrese was 6 man. So
Yeah.
Because he
I-
kind of looked
yeah.
like his
nice
game is
six
kind of
man,
like
though.
molded like Fox almost with the
Yeah,
passing
yeah.
and
The passing, the speed. Yeah.
the speed. It's kind of like he learned under Fox.
the Kings drafting Halliburton was one of the best moves they've ever had in
Yeah.
franchise history.
Yes.
Just
Oh, yeah.
because of what they acquired in
Yeah.
exchange for.
And I mean,
Oh,
even,
yeah.
even that one, you look at that trade, that was pretty even because Sabonis has been a stud for them too.
Sabonis is
I think
Most underrated
the
player in basketball.
Sabonis trade to Sacramento was the worst thing for De'Aaron Fox's career because it's not De'Aaron Fox's team. That is, dude, Sabonis. That's his squad. You know what I'm saying? I think maybe he would have developed a little better, but
Sabonis is
I
criminally
think
underrated.
De'Aaron Fox is at his ceiling right now. I don't think he gets any better.
We got to continue to keep the draft moving.
ahead.
So now we got Nazir up with the Chicago Bulls. Patrick Williams has already been picked.
This
Which
team's
direction
tough.
do you go with this team?
So this team's kind of tough. They already had Zach LaVine. They had Vukovic. They had Kobe White still. Kobe White wasn't the same player as he is now, though. They had Lauri Markkanen still.
I know what I'd take.
I'm gonna have,
Don't overdo it.
I'm gonna have to go Jaden McDaniels on this one.
Jay McDaniels.
Yeah.
It was either him or Maxey, but Maxey wasn't too great coming out.
Yeah, but they didn't need another point guard. They
Right.
had invested with Kobe.
So Kobe White and Zach LaVine and Jaden McDaniels, Lauri Markkanen, and Vukovic. That would have been a really good starting lineup. So without Patrick Williams, of course.
Yeah, and I mean the Bulls, obviously up until the beginning of the Lonzo Ball injury saga, were very strong
Yeah, they were good.
competition in the Eastern Conference. So I think that Jaden McDaniels would be a strong addition there.
Yeah.
And he's someone who can play defense and he can score off the wing.
Yep.
Just a great player right there. Up
Love
next,
McDaniels.
number 5, Jalen. You got the Cavs. The original Cavs pick was Isaac Okoro.
It's not a bad pick though. Probably they didn't have anybody else, so I would have taken James Wiseman at that pick.
James Wiseman.
They would have the Twin Towers with him and what's his name?
They didn't have Mobley at the time, did
No,
they?
Mobley
No,
was a
they
few
didn't
years
have
after.
Mobley.
Who was the big man?
Jared Allen. They would have been him and Jared Allen down there.
That would.
Allen wasn't there in 2020.
Wiseman.
I don't think.
He wasn't quite there yet, I don't think.
Oh, then James Wiseman was the
Let's double
perfect
check.
pick.
Let's double check.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
had Tristan Thompson
But he was on his way out.
and Andre Drummond.
Oh yeah,
Drummond
James
was
Oh
Wiseman.
my God,
Drummond
I
was
do
good,
remember
though.
that.
Yeah,
Really?
the
Wiseman?
Cavs, yeah, I would have grabbed Wiseman there. They didn't have no bigs
I guess in that time.
at that time. Yeah,
I
they
still
had
think they
no-
got to go wing. I still think they have to address wing.
All right.
I'm
No,
surprised this guy's falling out of the top
Evan
5.
Vassell, maybe.
I think I know who you're talking about. Number 6 now. I'm back on the clock with the Atlanta Hawks, and as the GM, I'm looking at my team right now. Just drafted Trae Young, so I think that point guard is wraps. Shooting guard, I mean, there's kind of a little bit of there's all sorts of options here, but I mean, just signed Crabbe to a larger option. Kevin Huerter, though, is looking pretty good. You look at small forward, still trying to work on Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, seeing who comes out of that. Power forward, I mean, John Collins is looking great. I mean, you got to think about this is 2 seasons before their run to the conference finals, so they still have some strong pieces here. And I think that really their toughest spot on this team is center. And I mean, but the way that you look at the league right now, I think that the most looking at who talent-wise is the best here for the Hawks, I think that if you put Tyrese Maxey on that team, they have a lot higher ceiling than they did before that. I think that Tyrese Maxey and Trae Young slashing together would be insane.
It'd be a small ball team.
It would be. Obviously, I mean, you look at their centers was Alex Len, Dwayne Dedmon. But the other thing is, like, I mean, with centers that we have left, what do we still got in terms of
Still
centers?
got Okongwu.
You got
Okongwu,
Pokachevsky. This was a really bad year for big
yeah,
men.
Isaiah Stewart is the leader in
Ochoa.
rebounds.
You got
Really, Xavier Tillman. Yeah, this was a really bad year.
Yeah,
for
so
bigs.
it's hard to kind of pass that up, but I still think that I go Tyrese Maxey there. Up next now, Nick, number 7. He has the Detroit Pistons. Their original pick was Killian Hayes.
I was gonna go with Tyrese Maxey because that would actually have fit that team
Yeah,
with Blake
would've been
Griffin.
perfect.
and-
I know exactly.
Because let's not forget that Blake Griffin too. I'll make this quick because I know we're starting to trim down on some time. But yeah, that team was a playoff team. That 2020 Pistons. Am I right?
I don't think-
With Blake?
They were close, I think.
No, I think they made the playoffs, brother.
First round, maybe?
Yeah,
I think
they were
that was
first
the year,
round
I think
exit.
that may have been the year they got killed by Milwaukee.
They
Oh,
were.
yeah, they
let
got
me see
swept.
right here. Let me
They
see
got
right
swept
here.
that year, or 5, one of those.
Oh no, the 2020-2021 Pistons were 20 and 52.
The 2019 season.
2019 seasons where they
Yeah.
they got messed up in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna rock with. I'm just gonna put Emmanuel quickly over there.
Really?
Yeah.
And that is I mean, he's someone who kind of gets overlooked too, I think. He's been looking pretty
He
good.
does, but they needed more of a ball handler at the time, and then they drafted Killian Hayes, which was a L.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
brutal.
So
Yeah, that's a pretty easy one in terms of moving on from Killian Hayes. Emmanuel Quickly moving up a few picks. I mean, Emmanuel Quickly originally 25 to OKC. Obviously, Kentucky guards have done great in the NBA. Brendan, you're up now with the New York Knicks. Their original pick was Obi Toppin.
It will not be Obi Toppin.
It will not be Obi
It'll
Toppin.
be Desmond Bain.
Desmond Bain.
Probably the
Perfect.
biggest steal of that entire draft class. He would fit New York perfectly with what they had going on at the time. They really just needed players in general and great guards to go around. Desmond Bain's criminally underrated, and I have a little bit of bias saying that, but a lot of people slept on him being a 4-year senior at a TCU and his wingspan not being the highest,
Yeah,
which is
his-
like this
those
advanced
freak, man.
advanced analytics. But I mean, simply put, this guy can shoot the rock.
He
And
can.
with what they had going on at the time, with the budding development still with Kristaps, I think that would have been a tremendous addition for New York.
Do you think that if they pick up Bain at that pick, do you think that Brunson eventually comes to that team or no?
I could still see Brunson going there.
It's interesting. Yeah, because, I mean, obviously these hypotheticals are fun.
Because Brunson still would be, if
You think
presuming
he'd be
everything-
PG1?
Yeah, still 100% because he'd still get overshadowed by Luka down there because I still think that would all stay the same, and I still think Brunson would end up going to New York. And because I mean, especially with his dad being an assistant coach there too, that's another reason why.
That was another year where Kyrie was looking to potentially get moved to.
You could honestly, if
that team too.
If Bane, is a starting shooting guard day one, I think the Knicks could be easily 7-8 seed in that 2021 season, and then really they're just a point guard away at that point. And who knows, maybe Kyrie does go to New York.
Yeah, but it's also the Knicks franchise. So.
Yeah, but it's also it's also entirely hypothetical, and who knows, maybe the addition of Bane and just the Knicks being slightly better could be enough to get Kyrie and KD.
Desmond Bane moves up. Was originally a Celtic at the 30th pick, moved up to 8, number 9 now.
Took mine too.
Nazir with the Wizards. They originally picked Denny Avdija, and even at the time, I was like, "This is going to be a bad pick."
The most wizard pick ever.
Correct.
I got Wizards. Oh, jeez. 1 sec. I thought I had Suns.
Yeah, it rotated a little bit just because of some late exits from the show.
Let's see. Who was on that team? Bradley Beal, Bertans. Jesus.
Not a whole lot going
Hachimura
on.
was on this team. I did not know he was on this
second.
team. Well, it looks like they needed something, so I'm gonna. It's man.
Do you think this is a scenario where you go best available?
Kind of, but I'm gonna take Devin Vassell. I think he would have been
Good pick.
pretty decent on this team. Bradley Beal probably would have stayed if Devin Vassell developed pretty well, and him and Roy Hachimura are there in the starting lineup as forwards over Isaac Bonga and Troy Brown. That would have been good. They had Thomas Bryant at center. Not a great team still, but I mean, he would have made some noise. I feel like.
Yeah, I think that year they picked up Westbrook as well.
Oh yeah, correct.
So
Yeah.
that would be interesting to see a Westbrook, Vassell, Hachimura, that sort of team.
Yeah.
Stop the Westbrook hate, please,
Devin
everybody.
Vassell's so good.
Yeah, he's really good.
He gets hated on because of the team that he's kind of running with Victor right now. But they're also playing pretty well now down the stretch. But with our final pick of this redraft, we're only going top 10. Jalen, you got the Suns. And at that time, let me look back. I forgot who the Suns picked there.
They picked Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith, yep.
Probably I would have grabbed Diddy Avdia for that one.
There you
They didn't have a small forward.
Yeah,
and
Avdia's good.
KD wasn't there, obviously, there, or Brad Beal either. So, yeah, I would have had Diddy Avdia would have fit perfectly well in that system because they had CP at the time.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, CP, and I know they eventually moved on and did the KD route and
Yep.
all that stuff. But I think you plug them in with Booker and Chris
Yeah.
Paul. I think that's that defensive option that can help them be a little bit more reliant there. And that was a fun draft. Just to recap, number 1 pick to the T-Wolves, Anthony Edwards. Number 2 pick to the Warriors, Patrick Williams. Number 3 pick to the Hornets, Tyrese Halliburton. Number 4 pick to the Bulls, Jaden McDaniels. Number 5 pick to the Cavs, James Wiseman. Number 6 pick to the Hawks, Tyrese Maxey. Number 7 pick to the Pistons, Emmanuel Quickley. Number 8 pick to the Knicks, Desmond Bane. Number 9 pick to the Wizards, Devin Vassell. And number 10 pick to the Suns, Denny Avdija. We got about 2 minutes to wrap up the show. So very quick final thoughts. We'll start with Jalen on the other side.
Cubs look good. I'm going to say that Caitlin Clark will be box office. It was going to be, WNBA is going to be very special to watch this summer.
Yeah, it's a fun draft coming up for them, too.
I think you should have hit the 2018 draft. That would have been great. Donovan Mitchell, Luka, all them boys. But anyways, final thoughts. Please sign a wide receiver for the Chargers. I'm begging you. I need some type of excitement.
You don't think that they pick a wideout in the draft?
Oh, they will, but I need you to sign like experience. I don't know who's on the market anymore because Curtis Samuel got picked up. But man, find something, man, please.
Herbert's going to be throwing to who?
Derek
To Harbaugh.
Josh Palmer.
Josh Palmer, number 1 option. Brendan, you're up.
Not really a sports take. Just want to say WWE is back. WrestleMania this past weekend was incredible. I felt like a little kid again.
Cody Rhodes
and
finished his story.
I'm very happy Cody Rhodes finished the story, and just shout out John Cena, Undertaker for still being able to take bumps with as much as they've done for the wrestling community. So
Shout out The Rock, man.
The Rock is out there, too. Randy Orton.
yeah, it was great Mania. WWE is back.
Popcorn for everybody who attended and everybody who watched, for sure. Nick.
Just shouting at myself, I accidentally wore a UConn shirt. So that works. Clippers 50-28, 5-6-2 now with Russell Westbrook back in the lineup. They're coming for heads come playoff time.
Yeah,
Just telling you guys right now, let's pray for Clippers Bucks. so I can actually get up to a Clippers finals game in Milwaukee. That's my
That'd be fun. Good thing you didn't pick Purdue. But I'm going to wrap up by saying come out to Edge Fest this weekend, Thursday through Saturday at Jitters Coffee House. Got some fantastic live music. But we're going to hand it back over to the alternative music here on 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater, returning with more alternative music.